Today, 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through the moon base, not a creature was stirring except ChillPoint!
ChillPoint's really good, a bit of a beast.
Yeah. I mean, there could be creatures stirring around here. I think I saw Matt stirring a little earlier.
Yeah. I know Ian's making clarified milk punch.
Oh, there you go.
Not in the moon base, though, so that doesn't really count.
Matt's always stirring some.
Every year, Ian makes clarified milk punch. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a thing he likes to do.
Alright.
Hey.
Derailed the entire goddamn show already, like I always do, so good for me.
Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news. And in particular, we talk about the episode of CheckPoint that just went up yesterday on the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel, youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. And also talk about some of the things that we didn't have a chance to talk about on the episode of CheckPoint. Mm-hmm. And this was a particularly the audience has gotten thirsty for the post show banter. You know, I see lots of comments being like, "Show over." Video only half over. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
This one was longer than normal, and that's only because.
And that's because
we're not doing a CheckPoint next week. So they were allowed to have a longer one.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you cut it down quite a lot from what they did actually talk about.
One of the things I cut out.
The Spider-Man conversation went on for a very long time.
Yeah, that went on for a very long time. But here's the thing. If I'm watching the conversation and I don't get bored, it gets to stay. The moment I get bored by either of you, because I have to watch that thing through 3 times, your chances are slimmer.
Cool. All right. The Heather cutoff. I like that. That works.
I cut out a thing where Graham said he learned something about the P-Bird thing that he was wearing on his shirt.
Yeah.
And that he would tell you about it later.
Yeah.
But then he didn't talk about it later. And I was like, well, I'm not putting that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, terrible.
See, that's why we have to finish all of our thoughts when we're in the middle of recording. Because otherwise we'll just forget about them. I should ask him what he was going to tell me about it.
He had a hard.
There's something about the Pilcrow that we don't know now.
That he learned.
That he's keeping secret.
So... There, you can constantly ask Graham about that on stream.
That's how I self-edit my art too. See, that's tricky. That's tricky. I mean, we often have talked about this, is that especially if you're doing comedy. Comedy, of course, relies a lot on surprise.
Damn it! I was going to say timing and interrupt you.
Well,
but you got the timing wrong.
I did, yeah. That's comedy.
Comedy relies on surprise, and so often, sometimes when you're doing, especially like a sketch or something that is sort of edited quite tightly, so you have to go over it over and over and over again, you start questioning whether it was funny or not.
Timing.
And
gonna punch you a lot today.
And so sometimes you do have to just kind of like rely on your past like self. You have to be like, I thought this was funny once.
Yeah.
I have to remember that. I have to remember that this was a funny thing. And I'm just not feeling it's funny right now because I've seen it a ton.
So instead of like when you're doing that thing where you're like, nah, it's okay. Future me will figure it out. You're like, no, it's okay. Past self got me.
Yeah.
I have to believe in past self.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of writers in comics say that as well. I think everyone kind of comes to that conclusion where it's like, you will end up killing some of your best jokes because the ones you wrote in spontaneity that really like kind of crackle in your brain because you'll be going over them so many times. You'll be like, maybe this isn't as funny as I thought. And it's like, don't do that.
Oh, man.
Don't always run that again past somebody else who hasn't heard it yet and see what they react to.
There's so many things I watch like maybe like a year later, and I'm like, oh man, we were funny.
Yeah.
That's what you hope the reaction is, not like, oh. I mean,
That's going to be the Loading Ready Run like biography that somebody writes after like 40 years. It'll just be called "They Were Funny." Well, they were funny.
Yeah, they were funny once. I mean, the big the most obvious example of it is the Lost Planet, the Unskippable. To bring it back to video games, the Unskippable pilot that we sent into the Escapist, which got us the Unskippable gig. We were hesitant to send it in. Like we recorded it and went over it so many times that at a certain point we were like, is this actually any good? And we were seriously questioning sending it in, and then we were like, well, we did it and we might as well give it a shot. And obviously they liked it, and everybody and lots of other people liked it too. So good thing we did.
Tangent. Graham wrote me back. He said, 1 second, it's more easily explained in a TikTok. So we're not going to be doing that during the show today.
All right.
Yeah, I do find that if I go through an episode of CheckPoint or anything I'm editing, because you end up rewatching the same thing several times, it's like, if I still think it's funny at the end, that's cool. But you're definitely waiting for that, like, I think I did a funny thing. I need somebody else to like this now.
Yeah,
to tell me that it still is funny, because I know the timing is there. I know the things are there, but I'm like, no.
You do learn it. You do actually learn like a skill to sort of intellectually analyze whether something is funny, which is terrible to do. Like if you're at something like a comedy show or a funny movie or something, it's the worst, right? People like if you're like a stand-up comic and people in the audience are like, ah, yes, I see what you did there. That is a funny thing, which is obviously the worst thing. But when the sort of surprise laughter isn't happening anymore because you've seen it a bunch of times, being able to sort of be like, yes, I can understand why this is funny.
Yeah.
And this has some a basis of comedy in it that I can rely on.
I've edited so many things with you and Graham in them that even when I don't get the joke, I can tell from the cadence of your voice where the joke is supposed to be, and so where it should go in the edit.
So even though there's no laugh track,
even if I don't get the joke, I know where the joke was supposed to be and where it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
You're like, I can tell where you thought you were joking.
Yep.
And I know if it worked because I watch other people laugh at it and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've done that a few, especially when we're talking about CheckPoint or like video games and stuff, right? There'll be something like specific for like Destiny or WoW or something, especially if it's like something that none of the three of us are played, like, say WoW. Yeah. None of us are big WoW players and stuff, and so we'll like go to James or somebody and be like, okay, we've got this joke. What's the funny, like, what's the place?
What's the noun?
We need a place to put in here that people will find funny.
Yeah.
And then he'll like, okay, this one is, this is what it should be. And you're like, okay, I'm going to say this word and I'm going to rely on that people will find this funny.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite comedic, I know we're going to get into the show proper in a second, but probably my favorite comedic device recently has been comedians relying upon false punchlines, fake out punchlines, where they tell a joke and then they tell they lead up to the end of the story and they say what sounds like the end of the story or the end of the thing they've been pitching to you, and everyone has a laugh, right? There's like smattering of laughter and applause in the audience. At which point, then the prestige, then they do the actual punchline after the fact, like a lot of comics that did kind of like the maybe was it Rita Runder who used to do a lot of like felt like throwaway punchlines at the end of her gags that got the biggest laughs, because it was like you thought that she told the whole thing and you had a good laugh, but then it's like, here's the thing that actually gets you, because she's kind of like trailing off a bit and you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. I love those because it means that I've been dissecting the comedy and then didn't expect the actual punchline.
Anyway, comedy talk is
timing.
Comedy talk is great. But this is a gaming I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe,
there's nothing funny about gaming.
maybe on like Askler or something we can talk more about comedy stuff.
Not the way we read it.
Uh,
Yeah, somebody
But
actually asked a question about it.
on CheckPoint this week, we talked. So as we're coming in, part of the reason, not part of the reason why we're taking next week off of CheckPoint is because we don't want to work.
Yeah, we earned it. We've probably done more
honestly,
checkpoints this year than any other year in recent history because we've had to take so many off in other years because of cons and stuff like that.
Could be.
Yeah. That's what we're banging on anyway.
But the other reason is this is a good time to take off of CheckPoint because it turns out video game news sites also don't want to work around Christmas.
There's no gaming news to be had unless you want to talk about the game of the year discussion.
Yeah, the gaming the gaming news is all the gaming websites are like game of the year stuff, retros and like these there's like all these great like editorial retrospective things.
Yeah.
So there'll be like a mainline article on Polygon or something that'll be like the Mega Man games were pretty good.
Yeah, remember those?
And it's just like this is hard hitting news reporting we're doing right now.
Yeah, and there's also like usually some company will try to release something. Will like they'll try to release a press release or an idea or like this would be the time to announce your shitty NFT thing that you're doing for your gaming company because there's less chance it might get picked up.
Yeah, you've got a week.
Yeah.
When CheckPoint won't be around to make fun of you for it.
Yeah.
To release your NFT thing.
But because
as long as it's dead by the time we're come back.
Because like everybody's probably prepped all their stories to go up for the ensuing week so that people will keep coming back to Polygon and Kotaku and everything throughout that week because writers still got to get paid, right? So less chance that someone's going to pick up on the dumb decision you've made in your company.
I don't know about that. But go ahead, test it.
Yeah.
Speaking
Fuck around and find out.
of dumb decisions around NFTs.
Oh, right. That was
Yeah, we'd had to do another catch-up story on this.
A NF update, which I was
okay,
pretty.
I get it now that I hear it said out loud.
Yeah. Update. This was a good
All right.
dichotomy, I think. The two stories going up together really felt like here's one reaction, here's the other reaction.
Yeah, and it was a close thing, and we talked about this on ChillPoint last week because this happened right after the last thing. But GSC Game World, the people who do Stalker 2, have backed off on their NFT idea. It was close. They were like doubling down on it, and then they were like, "Yeah, okay, fine, we won't." But Ubisoft has very much decided to go in on it.
They hired a
yeah,
guy they call
yes.
the technical director of blockchain.
Yes, at least according to the technical director of blockchain, they're certainly in for it. It's possible that the technical director of blockchain will be gone soon. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But
well,
I love the way they keep talking about. There's the article.
Didn't they agree that there were like, wasn't the quote something about how, well, people got used to things like microtransactions and loot boxes and a bunch of those other things as well.
That part didn't make it into the episode, but if that's in the actual article,
Was that not-
that's astounding.
Was that not them? I can't remember between all the bad video game companies anymore. Who
Yeah.
says the bad thing?
But what I like here is this like there's the term decentralized gets thrown around a lot in reference to NFTs because you're talking about the underlying blockchain technology. Yeah, there is a lot of decentralization that's part of the whole thing, but when we talk about a lot of the stuff with NFTs, it's like, what is this? Here's the quote. Our main objective with Ubisoft Quartz is to showcase the true value of decentralization to our players. Played a key, that's a third-party company.
Great.
Played a key role in the realization of our vision by allowing us to go one step further and decentralize the storage of the digit video assets and metadata. It's like, That's not decentralizing. That's just centralizing in a different place. You just moved it over to another company.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're paying somebody else to hold all your shit for you.
You've all seen the tweet that's been going around about the person who talked about as a kid they owned a star and
Yeah.
how all of those companies are defunct now and
Yeah.
good luck claiming that.
I mean that was one of the big sort of metaphors for NFTs like early on was the like buying a star
Yeah.
thing.
Been seeing recent ones where it's you can buy a square foot of land in Scotland, and then because you own land in Scotland, you can be called a lord or a lady. And I watched the whole YouTube ad. It was about a minute and a half long because I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've heard of since I actually my brain stopped getting wrinkles.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap, I can't. And people were like so excited. It's like home movie shooting. People were like, oh my god, this is so cool. You did this for me. And it's like,
I mean, they paid actors. Let's face that. I hope they.
I hope they're paid actors.
They were it was terrible looking phone footage, and I was just like, I can believe that real people acted this way, but maybe they didn't because we're real people and we can shoot stuff on our phones.
Yep, we could. We do often actually.
So quartz is still a thing.
Yeah, quartz is still a thing. It has not been very successful, as saying apparently about $380 have transacted. How obviously a lot. It's kind of hard to track because it's being done in different places, but so yeah. Because I mean, the weird thing about this is it's like the base NFTs of the whatever fancy pants. I forget what they're the wolf enhanced pants.
Yes,
yeah,
right.
Wolf
Yeah.
enhanced
Yeah.
pants. Yeah.
And the wolf enhanced gun and wolf enhanced hat or whatever
a
it
wolf
is.
enhances all kinds of things. They should put one in the room that they're in.
Inside every pair of pants are two wolves.
Well, yeah, there's two legs.
They're fighting and get them out.
There's space for each.
No,
One leg a piece.
I won't go near that pair of pants anymore. Not until the wolves leave.
I'll give Ubisoft all the wolves they want. Right to their face.
Yeah. But the thing is they're giving them away for free. Right?
Wolves?
No, these
Fans.
NFTs. Like you have to get apparently 600 hours in the game.
That's not free. That's
And then
payment in kind.
you can get it.
Yeah.
So if you really want this, but you don't want to have 600 hours in the game, you can buy it off somebody. Maybe, except there are also there's various requirements for owning one, which we talked about last time too. So I don't know.
You must play Ghost Recon Breakpoint, whatever the fuck it's called, twice a week for at least 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's not in there, but stay tuned. I'm sure at some point we're going to see that from gaming companies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised that there's going to be some gaming companies that double down on it, regardless, because that's that literally is what has happened with microtransactions and loot boxes and things when people have been like, oh, don't, and they kind of back off a little bit, and then they come back, and it's like you move that line.
Right. They're like
slowly is what you're trying to do.
Yeah. If we hold on to this long enough, then people will get numb to it.
Yeah.
And we can kind of keep pushing. I do like one thing that has been a positive thing. It seems like the various people pushing NFTs have acknowledged the environmental aspect of it. And most of the NFT things that are being pushed these days are not using the proof of work stuff, so they tend to be more environmentally reasonable. So the environmental damage on top of the scam has been largely dealt with in a lot of ways, which is nice. So there isn't that sort of extra level of terribleness, but there's still the base level of terribleness.
That's going to be, and I mean, it's going to be the ongoing position that that anyone who's doubling down on this in the first place. Now we've seen it. It's going to be keep it up until everyone gets tired of complaining about the fact that we're doing this thing.
Yeah,
But it's
much.
like, I mean, it is a vote with your dollar situation, so I guess don't give them any dollars for their NFTs.
I mean, you say that, but so many companies are jumping on board that it's actually getting hard to vote with your dollars in that situation.
Well, I think it's a case of like if you don't spend money on quartz, right? Or
Oh,
don't spend
sure,
money on
yeah,
associated
there's
NFTs and
that.
whatever else. That's like, yeah, bleed them dry. Use their products or
But
whatever else if you want to.
in
but bleed
terms
them
of like
dry.
Shopify jumping on board and like and then people being like, okay, well, I won't buy anything through Shopify. And it's like there's not many other places for people who are small artists or things to sell through.
And I can't just move our whole store off of Shopify.
Yeah, like that's
like
that's
I just
what I mean
cannot
by that.
just do that.
Like
so
it's really hard sometimes to just deny an entire service.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, don't buy Ubisoft coins.
All right. Other stuff. Shoes, in fact.
Oh, man, shoes.
Fancy shoes.
It's got to be the shoes.
I feel like the main reason why this was a story we talked about is because it felt necessary to talk about it because we talked about the other two. It's kind of a sunk cost fallacy, but in the news world.
It felt good to kind of bring it all
have
home,
they,
though, right?
Have they done all like shoes for every system yet? Xbox?
I think there's just supposed to be the 3 drops.
They're just the 3?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a 20th anniversary one, there's an Xbox 360 one, and then this third one you could maybe ascribe to the Xbox One if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but...
Yeah, it's supposed to be... Yeah, the first one was the Halo one, the second one was the 360, and then this one was supposed to be Xbox One.
Yeah.
I think, because it's like black with the green...
All right.
Yeah, a big green stripe, kind of,
Which isn't an Xbox One, but anyway. Yeah, and they're obviously all sold out again. I think there was only like a couple hundred or something. So
I mean, stuff like this is typically short, and there's a big shoe following of just shoes, regardless. So those were always going to sell out, likely.
Yeah. And they sold at $140 a pair. Like, this wasn't like they said...
which is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's like, this is what...
That's actually, like, cheaper than the shoes I'm wearing right now,
Right.
I think, probably.
Right? So, well, I mean, U.S., but...
Right, that's
but
true.
it is that kind of thing where it's like, you can go do that. There, people are like, oh, I already have a set listed on eBay for $200, maybe regardless of whether those people even have them or not. But I mean, they wouldn't, right? They sold it immediately and then went up on eBay. They don't actually have possession of those shoes. So, it sounds like Adidas is going to try to make more shoes. That's the assumption. Adidas is in the shoe business.
You've heard it here. First, Adidas is going to make more shoes.
So, yeah.
The shoe company.
Now, they might not be these exact shoes.
Okay.
They might be Guardians of the Galaxy shoes.
The Guardians of the Galaxy, like, red leather
They look like
shoes?
normal shoes to me.
Yeah.
Those look pretty sweet.
Like, they
those
look okay.
Those look pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you know what they say about people in red shoes, right?
They get crushed by houses.
Well, yes, they do. I was going to say they click their heels 3 times and get to go home, but
Oh, we were on the same page.
but yeah.
And then talking about the Analog Pocket,
yeah.
and which by all accounts is super cool.
there have been good reviews for it.
If you're able to get one, which meant that you ordered one like a year ago.
Yeah, they did open up orders again when a lot of people started to receive theirs. I don't know if you can still pre-order, if like that's open or not. But if you did pre-order in that batch, it's like you're not getting yours for probably like another year.
Yeah, they've been hit by the chip shortages that everyone's been hit by. But it's supposed to be super cool. But if you can't get it, you can get something that's much less cool, like the Upswitch Orion.
Just because the screen is bigger doesn't mean you get any more pixels.
So yeah, it's a the
760.
Switch itself outputs 720p on the
little
on the
screen.
handheld.
Yeah, on its 6-inch screen.
And so you put this thing on top of that screen to plug it in from the looks of it.
There's a series of clips and levers.
And I'll be honest, the implementation, like the system on the back how you actually plug the Switch in, which is basically like a LCD panel with like a Switch dock on the back.
Yeah.
Switch thinks it's docked to a TV.
Right.
So theoretically is outputting a 1080p signal.
Yeah.
But the LCD monitor is only 768.
768.
But the like setup with the Switch dock and stuff is pretty slick. Like it looks kind of cool. That's diminished by the battery pack that's like velcroed on. Like
Yeah.
It definitely changes the look of it from behind. Like
Yeah.
when you look
Yeah.
at the picture where it's like from the front, it's like, oh, okay, sure, I guess.
But it looks like what you would do if you were like, oh, I need to power this thing. Where's a battery pack I can scrounge up and attach to the back? Not this is the way you're supposed to do it, and it comes with it.
It's funny too because I'm like, if this thing was being fully engineered to be like a portable monitor, but specifically for a Switch, yada yada yada, you'd think that they'd try to source laptop batteries, even in like a laptop casing, because it's like if you can find an 11-inch laptop battery like that clicks into the back of something, you could design your whole case to be like it takes a standard Acer Netbook 11.6 laptop battery that just clicks into place, a 4-cell or a 6-cell, and then you can use that all you want to power this monitor, and like that's the way to do it, I think, because then it's like you have.
Sadly, I think there are very few standardized laptop batteries.
Yeah, well, you'd have to pick like a Dell or like something that somebody makes that's like this thing is like they made hundreds of thousands of latitudes, and so these things will all be on eBay for the rest of their life, kind of idea. But I mean, as far as when I looked at this, what other than this looks like it sucks to me. I don't want to play it. I don't want one of these things. But I'm like, the closest argument I could make is it's an accessibility nod to be like, if you have trouble seeing your little screen, then we can let you game portably on a much larger screen, which will probably be easier on your eyes. If you're having a hard time playing this thing, you have a larger screen. I'm like, sure. But then why does it have to suck so much? Like, why does it have to have a huge goddamn battery on the back and, like, everything else?
Well, I mean, because, again, it's going to be too much.
And it's going to be heavy, and if you're having, like... So I'm just like, oh, I can't even make that argument.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they list how heavy everything was together? Because...
I mean, I think we know how heavy a standard battery pack is, and if you add that onto a Switch, and then you add on like
because the Steam Deck thing is it called the Steam Deck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
too many products; they're too close together.
Steam Deck isn't that much bigger than a regular.
But it is bigger, and I think it's supposed to be a little bit heavier. And everybody I know is like, well, I don't know, that seems too heavy. And then you see this thing, and I'm like, who doesn't look at this and think it's too heavy?
And it's the worst. Have you ever done the thing where you're like on your like tablet or Switch or whatever, and you're playing in bed, and then you drop it on your face?
Yeah.
I mean,
you wake up with a mild concussion.
I don't do the head back thing above me very well. My arms get too tired. I prefer to lay on my stomach and let all of my shoulders seize up instead.
I have definitely thought about getting some sort of device, though, that I could hang off of my bed that kind of like
I've seen them.
Has an articulating arm or something, so I can just sit there and like watch my
shit.
Those exist.
It's basically like a gooseneck lamp, but without the lamp on the end.
Yeah, they've got like phone ones and ones for iPads and stuff. I'm sure you could find one for Switch.
I mean, I know one exists, and so it's kind of like I kind of want to do the thing, but yeah, it's a little. We were looking at the Nintendo Life article. And it's a little unfair to be like, so here's what this Orion looks like next to a Switch OLED, and it's like, now that's not even fair, because the OLED looks amazing in photos,
but I mean, it's worthwhile. It's like this is what you're fighting. This is what you're competing against.
Yep, absolutely.
And then, the other thing is the Wi-Fi.
Right, I knew there was another thing in here.
The Wi-Fi thing for the
Game Boy.
For the Game Boy.
The DMG01.
Which is I find interesting because like that used to be kind of the really interesting thing about Nintendo's cartridge system was that the cartridges weren't necessarily like dumb data containers.
Yeah.
There could be all sorts of, the Super FX chip was the big one. But there could be all sorts of extra chips inside a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo or a Game Boy cartridge.
Yeah.
Like or there was the the WarioWare ones that had like the tilt sensor in it.
Yeah.
There's things that had light sensors in them. There was all sorts of weird stuff inside the cartridges. So like, obviously Wi-Fi wasn't a thing at the time.
Yeah.
But a cartridge with Wi-Fi in it. I mean, there's cartridges with a camera in it, right? But a cartridge with Wi-Fi in it wouldn't have been that unusual. Like, could have been something that existed.
Yeah.
At the time.
They put IR adapters, I think, in some cartridges before
they were putting it in the system fully. I think Pokemon generally ended up doing that kind of thing first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they needed to. They were trying to make those things work.
They actually, I was reading an article. I don't think it ever got used because it was too expensive. But they actually figured out a way to effectively put a Super Nintendo inside a Nintendo cart. So that like you could buy, like you could have, they could have made games that ran on Nintendo. And all of the actual processing would be happening in the cart.
Yeah.
And it would be like it's like as good as a Super Nintendo game.
It's like
but you plug it into your Nintendo. Except the problem is that they would be really expensive carts, and so it'd be like, why would people want that?
And then Sega did the Sega 32X for the Genesis, for the Mega Drive, where it was like you plug this thing in, and then you can plug 32X games into that and use your Genesis base station that you have to do all that stuff. And it's like that, then you don't have to buy a thing that you don't have to buy a brand new system. You're buying effectively a half system that just augments your old system.
So anyway, I greatly enjoyed I was able to get the screenshot. That was a screenshot of the YouTube video with captions turned on, with the like, "This is the most useless thing I have ever done." But I respect that feeling, that hacker mentality. It's like, I got a Game Boy to be able to access Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Why? Because it was there.
Yeah. I mean, no, if I knew how to do that kind of thing, I'd be
or of course, I said it before, my favorite Fraggle Rock joke is Doc is working on sewing a button onto a fried egg.
Oh, right.
Spent for the whole episode. That's like every time it goes back to him, he's trying to figure out how to sew a button onto a fried egg. And then at one point, one of his friends phones him and he's like, "What? No, I'm busy. What's that? Oh, I'm trying to sew a button onto a fried egg. Why? I haven't even figured out how yet."
That's really good.
I think that's an excellent distillation of the hacker mentality.
As a little,
you freeze the fried egg, by the way. That's how he does it.
That's really good.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Or you
have to make it more solid.
If you could burn it.
Well, depends on where you're going to put it on the fried egg. If you've already cooked it for the white area, you don't really...
Because the kind of brown crackly lacing on a fried egg will give it some structure.
Yeah.
So you can also...
it's the yolk that's going to be the hard part.
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned a thing, and it brought me on another tangent. And if I don't say it, I'll explode. I watched a video about old Nintendo add-on chips, like for the NES, but specifically memory mapper chips, the MMC1, the MMC3, the MMC5, that kind of thing. And the only reason I even knew about those to begin with was because Nintendo Power used to list that with the game. Back in the day, they'd be like, "So here, this Nintendo game's coming out, and it has an MMC3 in it, and here's all the other things you need to know about it."
That might be an indication of higher quality game, because that means there's more graphics and stuff.
Yeah, there's more potential for them to do even more with the system as a result, so they would list the chip in there, and I never knew what these memory mapper chips were for, because Nintendo Power never went out of their way to explain what they did. They just said, "This is an MMC5. That's the highest one there is." And it's like, that's good? Awesome, but what does it mean?
Is that good? It's better than MMC4.
Right? So, yeah.
They do say that, I believe the Super FX chip was actually more powerful than a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
In terms of, because that was the interesting thing, was that chips, that the cartridges, they had to make the decision about what chips to put in the cartridge, because the cost of the cartridge of the game to the consumer was relatively fixed.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to be like, can we? And so there's lots of games that are like, it's like this game was only, they had to, the maximum size of like a Super Nintendo game could be 8 megs or whatever it was, the limit. but this game fit into like they really struggled and fit it into like 2 megs, which meant that they could use the cheap cartridges.
Yeah.
Which meant that they could, do more stuff.
Yeah, and that persists to this day. Like with L.A. Noire only coming with half the game on the cartridge. So if you buy it,
put a
it
game on a
has to
cartridge.
download the other half
It
of the
should
game.
actually be on the cartridge.
Yeah, it should just all be on the cart. But they were like, we want to save money, and it's like
Yeah, but
That's what
that's a
they could-
misunderstanding
that's what
why
they could have
people
done.
buy carts.
Yeah.
They could have done that. They could have had made cartridges that were had Wi-Fi chips in them.
Yeah.
So it could download the rest of the game.
Right.
Anyway, the Hugo Awards
Oh, thank Christ! I forgot what my last story was.
happened, and they added this year as a special category. So this won't necessarily be happening in subsequent years, but for this year they added best game,
Or best video game.
best video game
Yeah.
as a category, which is very broad.
I do want to note, because there was a lot of this within the CheckPoint comments, the Hugo Awards are for sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah, but
I know the jokes were sci-fi
the
oriented.
name of the group is
Yes.
the World Science Fiction Society. That's what they call their group.
Yes,
And
and,
the
they
Hugo Awards.
do lean more towards sci-fi, but it is for
Yeah.
sci-fi and fantasy. It's literally in their main
Fantasy
name.
is like considered to be a subset of sci-fi often these days.
Also, I only dropped the word sci-fi once because people who are members of the World Science Fiction Society don't like it when you call it sci-fi. They like it when you call it science fiction.
It's because the Sci-Fi Channel has ruined sci-fi.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
I think let's
Fair.
seriously, like people who enjoy science fiction, the sci-fi is like sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's like the Sci-Fi Channel has kind of because they changed themselves from the Science Fiction Channel to sci-fi.
Yeah.
To be like
Now, this story to me was wonky as hell because on the face of it, it's really cool. The Hugo Awards said, let's recognize best video game.
right.
And when you start peeling back the layers, the problems that come up for me are, so is this best writing in a video game? Because that's
no, it's-
clearly not.
It's literally just best video.
best video game.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I would have been more interested if it was best writing for video game, I think. I
Yeah.
feel like the Hugo Awards committee has more authority in that regard than just rather than just because at least I feel like they're a bunch, they're writers and they're people who might have some authority to evaluate writing. When it's just video game in general, it's like these are just games that people played that they liked.
I mean, you could join.
Yeah,
vote if you want.
I can definitely try to join because second place finisher Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I feel like is if the intention of this award, because the thing is what was the intention behind making this category in the first place and just calling it best video game? And there was stuff in there like Star Wars Squadrons was in there, and you can actually go look at all the results and the resultant voting from it.
But it's as great as a game as Animal Crossing is, and everyone really enjoys it.
Yeah.
Not heavy on the writing.
No, exactly.
Writing is not really what it's about.
There's a lot of stuff has been written into the game, and there's a lot of events that you had to come up and put things in the game. But it's is it? And the most I could do is be well, if you treat it as more of an indicative thing of a post-capitalist society, of a post-humanity society, then yes, I guess you could claim that Animal Crossing itself is kind of this idea of when animals evolve to a point where they can be bipedal and talk with us as well, and then also it's and mortgages don't have interest, and
I really think you're just thinking about it too hard.
but that's the whole point is you are there themes that you can capture and talk about. So let's put all that aside, because the other thing I really that got me about this was the Worldcon committee is chosen by the World Science Fiction Society because there's committees within the society, and so when they choose a Worldcon committee, that committee runs that Worldcon for the year, and then next year when Con Zealand happens, which is in New Zealand, I think it's next year. They will
It's
choose
just called Con Zealand.
Yeah, it's just called Con Zealand. They will choose a new Worldcon committee for Con Zealand, and then Con Zealand gets to say, hey, we want to add a new category this year. If they want to do that, and then they can decide, they can work that out in the committee themselves. And it's but also the rules are you can't add more than one in a year to keep that kind of thing down. And then of course, but that also becomes a Hugo Award. And I was like, that's really interesting. That means that every year you could just pick a new category for Hugo. If everybody on the committee agrees, it's like we should do an award for X. It's like then you can do an award for X because you've all decided. And then you get the votes you get. You get the people who nominate things. You get the votes that you get, and then there you are.
Did you look at any of the other nominations and stuff and like categories and things?
I scrolled through everything and I looked at most of the other categories, and it's like best new artist, best semi-pro zine, best fan zine, two different things, best fan cast.
But, okay,
right?
yeah.
Best theatrical production short form, best theatrical
best
production
dramatic
long.
short.
Best dramatic production short form. They do episodes of stuff, and on there, She-Ra Heart and She-Ra Save the Cat were both nominated, and I'm like, it's too bad that those are both excellent episodes.
The Good Place won.
The Good Place won. Their finale episode.
Their finale episode, but there was like The Expanse was on there.
Yeah.
She-Ra was on there. 2 different episodes of The Mandalorian was on there.
3 actually.
Well, out of the last last place.
Yeah.
Is what I'm.
They ended up having to strike The Mandalorian second season from the long form because they were like, we already have episodes of The Mandalorian from the second season in the short form categories, so we're going to strike it from being able to win a long form award because that's the rules. It's like if you get to a certain point, you cross a certain threshold, they're like, we have to strike you from one category or the other, so we're choosing to strike you from that one.
The other one that I noticed, because I don't know what best related is supposed to actually mean, because it looked like articles and some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But one of the articles was called something like George R.R. Martin can fuck right off into the sun.
That's the winner?
That was a nomination. But that was like the first half of the title, and it was like, cool.
I believe
now they're fun to look at.
Yeah.
Being nominated for a Hugo is pretty straight. Like anybody can nominate, or any member of the committee, or of the not even of the committee,
the voting populace,
of the voting populace, which is a couple thousand people.
I think so. Yeah.
Can nominate something for a Hugo Award. I believe, Fight the Future, our podcast got nominated.
Yeah.
So, one of the people was a fan and nominated. It didn't get anywhere close to.
But
what
you meant to say was Hugo Award nominated podcast Fight the Future did not win that year.
No, but it's an honor just to be nominated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I read on the fact that even if you're if you've paid for like the year and then next year you don't pay to be a member, you can still nominate. You just can't vote.
Okay. Yeah, because the split is like everyone has to pay up, I think, before they vote. However that works out.
If I recall, there was a weird thing a couple years ago that George R.R. Martin had a separate Splinter Award ceremony for people he thought should have won the Hugos or something like that. There's been weird drama about the Hugos for a few years.
The George R.R. Martin article I mentioned was about the Hugo Awards. It's a funny title to see when you're flipping through.
And that brings to mind the other kind of wonky aspect of this that I really love is that this is a convention. Like this is a group of people who hold a convention every year, and then at some point they said, we should give out awards to stuff that we like.
1953.
Yeah, and it's like Worldcon 79, I think, is supposed to be like next year, or it was this year. But for example, though, the best video game category had 145 nominees and had 341 votes.
Right. So it's not like a huge voting group.
Right. So it's like versus the 1,100 people who voted for best novel, and which is you think the one that would attract all the attention. And so what got me is I'm like, yeah, I mean, I used to work for a convention and we used to agonize over our constitution and over our rules and stuff like that. But I also know how we acted. I also know how fans tend to act. And it's this thing of like the Hugo Awards are largely it's a fan reaction award. Sure. It's a what you want to vote on, whatever you want to vote for
Crunchyroll
wins.
does awards for anime too, right?
Absolutely, and so
everybody does.
And that brings to mind the idea of like what we have decided as a society. It's like when you look at a rocket ship sticker on a book, you're like, shit, that won a Hugo Award. That must be a good book. Right. There must be something amazing going on in that book. You see a Crunchyroll anime award on some sort of DVD, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like it's. But more people could have voted for that Crunchyroll thing.
But yeah, it's just the whether people think that the recommendation of whatever thing is actually worthwhile.
Yeah. Anyway, I could get into this for hours, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I don't want you to either.
Niantic released some stats about Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom.
Yeah.
Um,
For the year, just for 2021 or total?
I think this is total, or this has got to be total.
No, it looks like 2021.
No, I think it's just for the year.
Holy crap.
Holy.
Those are some big
A lot of people
numbers.
play.
Let's tell people the numbers.
So Pokemon Go, 3.909 billion eggs hatched.
That's too many Pokemon
3,909,000,000.
You know,
10
95% of that turned into candy.
10.269 billion Pokemon caught during 2021 Community Days. That's not
No, that's
all.
their,
That's just during Community
community
Day.
days are roughly once a month, I think.
Oh, God.
They're one day of the month usually.
We have to be close to catching them all by now.
That's
We
when
have
you
to be.
That's when you get special Pokemon stuff.
That's like a more than a Pokemon for every person on the planet.
Yeah. And you only get 12 times a year to catch them. Like, think about what that means. It means that they caught like 800 million Pokemon were caught on average every community day.
I believe it's also not even the full day because I think you have to go out between specific hours for like the Pokestops to give out the thing and like the special Squirtles or whatever to be out. It's been a while since I've played, but I'm pretty sure there's a time.
And then 12 billion gifts given. I don't know what is involved in giving a gift in Pokemon Go,
You
but
get gifts from Pokemon stops, and then you can send them to your friends, and sometimes they'll get eggs or berries or things.
and then Pikmin Bloom, which only came out like partway through this year.
Yeah.
October, November?
Okay, so it came out, it had 2
It came
months.
out like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been out for very long.
63.8 million flowers planted. 338 billion steps, which I guess isn't that impressive. That's just people walking.
Yeah. Well,
That was just one guy.
I mean,
And 113.9 million Pikmin grown. That's a
Okay.
lot of Pikmin.
So I've been playing since day one,
okay, I'm going to do some math.
and I have 200,000 steps.
222,000?
Yeah.
220. Wow. So you're contributing a good chunk to that.
There, and
338
I
billion.
haven't really been doing the flower planting a lot because I find it a little annoying. But I have about 16,000 flowers planted. I've plucked 173 Pikmin.
If everybody who
I've
played
participated in the 2 community days that happened.
this, if everybody who played this
Little
took 5,000
feast.
steps a day, so that's half of what they say to do for your 10,000 or whatever, what people like, that's a good amount to do. So let's say half the people, or let's say that everybody took 5,000 steps a day who were playing this. That means that 67.6 million people were playing this and took 5,000 steps to fill that up. Like,
That's my step count today.
you've already
That's
made
a
your
lot of-
10,000 steps.
Yeah, I went for a long walk
It's
this morning.
I think somebody in chat was saying I didn't realize that many other people were playing, and to be honest, that's probably part of the reason why Niantic released this data, because it's like back in when Pokemon Go first came out, there was a lot of like you go to a park and there's a bunch of people all clustered around doing a thing,
Yeah.
and so it was very much like a visible thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, it's cooled off a little bit, but also, of course, with pandemics and the pandemic
Yeah.
and stuff, people aren't really getting together in the same way.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to make sure that people know that, like, it's still a really popular game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was super surprised they released Pikmin Bloom as late in the year as they did, because like Pokemon came out, I think, in the middle of summer, which is like kind of where you want.
But it's also winter for the other side of the world. So maybe that was their decision.
I still think the end of October is a really weird time.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I mean, you probably want to release it like in the spring fall split.
They are an American company.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, it would be very America focused. Would you say that that Pikmin Bloom is it's a lighter involvement style of game because you're not trying to bust gyms, you're not trying to do
Pikmin
raids.
Bloom is a fancy pedometer that is very chill and about the amount of thing I want to play. Pokemon Go is have your phone out with you at all times and make sure you're walking around. Pikmin Bloom's like, I got my stuff set up, good.
Go for a walk, get to your location, open it up later, and be like, oh, look at all the things I got.
I mean, there's like
it's an idle game. It's an idle walker.
Flowers and stuff that you try to bloom and you can do whatever with, but it's not necessary.
I mean, Pikmin Bloom is sort of like the incubator part of Pokemon Go, like where you like have the eggs.
Yeah, I have to do a number of steps in order to get my Pikmin to bloom so that I can pluck them out and they'll walk with me. I quite like it. I actually like it a lot better than Pokemon Go, and I enjoyed Pokemon Go at the beginning.
So you have a couple of Assassin's Creed stories, right?
Yeah, so there's a couple of Assassin's Creed stories because yesterday, I believe.
Well, that's the other thing. Pikmin Bloom, because it counts your steps as opposed to your kilometer distance thing, which is what Pokemon Go does. You can literally walk on a treadmill and count towards your steps, which you can't. At least you couldn't do. I doubt you can. You can't do that in order to get your eggs to hatch in Pokemon Go. You have to actually go places.
Or tie it to your dog, yeah.
Not yesterday. So December 21st is Assassin's Creed Day, or AC Day, and the reason why that's not the day Assassin's Creed came out. That's nothing.
Does that mean I'm an assassin on that day?
Assassin's Creed Day is December 21st because in the original Assassin's Creed trilogy with Desmond as the protagonist, December 21st, 2012 was supposed to be the end of the world.
I see.
Was I an assassin 3 days ago?
And then Desmond stopped that from happening. Because he's cool.
Okay, good for him.
So thanks, Desmond, I guess.
Well,
so commemorating a day something didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay. We need more of those.
But that's, I mean, I guess it was the only like significant date that they could think of, I guess, in the Assassin's Creed mythology.
Yeah.
So because it was Assassin's Creed Day, they announced a couple things. For one thing, they're going to be bringing out, or they're going to do a 60 FPS upgrade on the what do you call it?
The original Assassin's Creed or
Origins.
Origins, okay.
Which is the Egyptian one, yeah.
Neat.
Which I believe was you could already do on PC, but this will be on.
I was gonna
consoles.
say, isn't 60 frames per second the thing that all these games are supposed to?
Oh wait, no, actually.
Confused.
Right, they're saying that they
You see, I didn't read the story either, so it's
I
hard.
looked at the headline and was like,
yeah,
okay.
I'm like, this is probably not going to be a thing that I want to bring up unless I start to talk about a bunch of stuff that Ubisoft is doing in association with other stuff.
They're saying they're going to be doing a 60 FPS mode.
Yeah.
They just don't know when. They're looking into it.
Honestly, I think that might be more information that they've given us about a game product than they've given us about the terrible things that they intend to not fix.
But just the idea of, hey, it's Assassin's Creed Day. What do we have to announce? We might do something in the future.
We intend to.
Yeah.
We've made our intentions clear.
All right.
But there is some other Assassin's Creed news.
Right.
There's going to be an Assassin's Creed immersive concert in 2022. It's a company called Overlook Events, which has done previous versions of these concerts where basically it's like a symphonic concert and it's immersive concert because they've got like screens and
people running around killing people.
HD video, lighting, and sound effects.
Okay.
A 2-hour musical journey through the series. But yeah,
Yeah.
immersive assassin doesn't sound like a good combination. Like,
I mean, I do kind of hope
How-
they've got somebody dressed up as one just running through the aisles.
Yeah.
just like stabbing people randomly.
Yeah, and everyone's cheering, "Stab me, stab me!" It's like, I got stabbed by the guy whose name starts with an E, and I forget it.
The
What it is.
protagonist.
Ezio.
Ezio,
I
thank
don't
you.
know. Do they
Ezio
get names?
Auditore. That's the cool one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Desmond.
Wait, there's non-cool assassins in Assassin's Creed? I thought that...
Assassination, like being a hitman's kind of a nerdy thing anyway. Like, yeah.
Well, only if you go to the assassination classroom.
Yeah.
You got your Altair, Desmond or Ezio, and then there's they were the two in the main, the original two sort of things,
Okay.
and then there's been Edward Kenway and was the one in Black Flag, I think.
So it's basically a
There's different people that apparently are all related. Were all related to Desmond up until like the most recent.
When they stopped having to be related.
Yeah, now they're just like, I don't know, it's just some guy.
So the course of 2 hours is probably going to be very much like a multimedia presentation. You got your stuff going on, like the HD
And it's
video.
lasers.
And
fog
because
machines.
like when you think about like the breadth of locations and settings
Yeah.
that the Assassin's Creed games have done, and basically, we're talking Italian Renaissance, all sorts of stuff in the Black Flag was in like the Caribbean, Egyptian stuff and Viking stuff and Greek stuff, and so from a symphonic point of view, they've got a lot of places where they can draw
A lot
things
of
from.
world building. they can
I'm
go
sure.
with.
I'm sure they could basically play whatever they want.
You've played all these games.
Most of them, yeah.
Do you find that the music is iconic? That you can recognize an Assassin's Creed theme? Not that I'm saying, can you hum one for me now? But if you were
If you heard one.
if you
If
were
you heard
sitting
one,
down
would
and
you-
listening,
would
you'd be
you
like,
hear
yeah,
it?
that was from an Assassin's Creed game I played. Not even I don't know which one, but I know that was from an Assassin's Creed game.
I gotta say, like, there's like a main Assassin's Creed theme
Yeah.
that is, I feel like, recognizable.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I would. Like, a lot of the music is just like, there's like fast-paced music when you're being chased
Right.
and other stuff. So, like, I don't know. And then, of course, Black Flag has like sea shanties and stuff that
Right.
people remember. But
Well-
in terms of like individual songs, like sort of set piece songs, I don't know if I would
So
recognize
if we threw you in the middle of a desert, you just woke up there one day, you wouldn't hear the music from Origins.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I guess because the thing is like I'm not familiar with the music. Is all the music from the Egyptian themed one? Is it very that kind of like I'm lost in?
I mean, it is appropriate.
Yeah, it is.
Should I say?
It
Yeah.
is thematically expressive.
Thematically expressive.
Yeah. Because that's always been the thing, right? It's like, oh yes, this takes place in Arabia. How can you tell? Because they're playing that stuff the way that you hear Arabian music being played, and it's very Lawrence of Arabia, or it's very
they've-
like Aladdin or whatever.
And because Ubisoft does this kind of stuff, they do a lot of like research and things into making like I remember there was a whole thing about like in Odyssey, the Greek one, you travel around on a ship kind of like Black Flag, and when you're on the ship your guys also sing, but they sing like ancient Greek sailing songs
Yeah.
that are original, like they're songs that we have some written documentation of, but nobody knew what the actual song was.
Right.
And so Ubisoft actually like made new songs,
Love that.
but sung in Greek, with the you working with historians to kind of figure out what it would have sounded like.
Oh, so being like we had to write new melodies, but we know we have some ancient Greek sheet music after a fashion,
And we know the kinds of things that it might have sounded
right.
like.
That's cool. I'm gonna get a little more juice.
Surprising nobody,
Oh no.
Matrix people are going to be showing up in Fortnite.
Yeah, that would make sense. That's the new thing, right?
It's the
And
new
they,
thing.
they already had Spider-Man, so
I feel like part of the reason why I marked this story, I feel like there is the extra level there. Like, is Fortnite in the Matrix?
Mm-hmm. Right?
If we're in the Matrix now,
Hmm.
and then you're playing a game in which there's
Okay.
the Matrix,
Okay.
then it
If
opens
I-
up some.
if I
questions.
remember correctly, because it's been a long time since I've seen the Matrix movies, and I've definitely not seen the new one, they said at one point that they tried to make the world inside the Matrix a positive place
Well, they tried to
where
make, like,
everything was paradise, and nobody believed it, so they had to make the world crappy. So of course Fortnite works in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So you're saying Fortnite is the previous version of the Matrix? That's the beautiful Garden of Eden
No,
version
no,
of
no,
the
no, no.
Matrix?
Fortnite is in the Matrix. They all play
Oh,
Fortnite
I
in the
see.
Matrix.
Yeah.
That's the only video game that exists.
But yeah, so maybe Fortnite, maybe what we are in right now is the real world's version of Fortnite.
I mean, I think all of that beats the
Fortnite just became Sims
like.
eventually.
I'm sure that I haven't seen the new Matrix movie, but I'm sure at some point that it just kind of it slowly pivots from being like the original Matrix. It slowly pivots from that into being like Neo and Trinity show up in like Space Jam.
All I know is Keanu Reeves is in it. And if he moves his hands around in the same way he was doing at the Games Award, I'm going to have a fun time.
Oh yeah,
Because that was funny to me.
And
He
apparently,
seems fun.
he's such a fun dude. Yeah.
so they have Neo and Trinity are skins in the game, and then they also have added like accessories and different stuff and emotes. Like there's like a bullet
Like-
time.
Flailing for, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like a bullet time emote, which is
Does it mean you can actually dodge bullets?
No.
In Fortnite? No.
Like-
You still get shot.
But
which
it does-
means like, so if you do that emote, like your character is like going into slow motion. And everyone just kind of like standing one.
Yeah, it's like a transformation sequences in anime, right? Where it's like, what the fuck is that person doing?
Yeah.
Is he okay?
Oh man.
Anyway.
I can do that emote in Saints Row 4 actually.
The guy keeps yelling "whoa" over and over though,
Yeah.
and it's weird.
Yeah.
Beach left him on the
I had to go
left
use the
him on
washroom.
the emote screen for a long time. So in the background in our house,
Nolan North just
there
keeps
was
going,
just
whoa, and then it would come
there'd be a
back.
pause. Whoa! It was just real weird.
It was annoying, and I should have just taken it off that screen. But yeah.
Yes.
Here's a cool story about, we talk a lot about speedruns and different gaming achievements and stuff. This is a neat story about a guy called username Handy Capable Sean,
Nice.
who is a guy who's been playing through all sorts of very difficult titles without losing a life, like without losing
A character.
like a life.
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch. He's been playing all these retro titles with his chin because he is disabled and is unable to use a controller with his hand. So he's been playing these games. He's been playing, we've got Activator 2, Castlevania 3, Legend of Zelda 2, Contra, Ninja Gaiden, Super Mario Brothers, Lost Levels.
All these rough ones. Oh
those
my
are rough.
god.
Original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I've heard horror
With-
stories about that one.
With the stupid underwater bomb disarming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes it's
Yeah, so he's using a special adapted controller that works with his chin.
yeah, he has a special adapted controller and software that allows him to remap stuff. I'm assuming he's playing stuff in
It
emulator.
looks like he has a suck puff as well, so he can suck and puff on a straw to probably activate buttons. So,
I
yeah.
mean, maybe that might not be part of the controller.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know
I've
enough
seen
about this person.
I've seen lots of that kind of setup where it's like people have that.
Yeah,
so I assume that
but
might be a
again,
thing.
I don't know if that's part of the controller or not
Yeah.
based on a photo.
Yeah.
and I don't want to make assumptions like that.
Also, I just want to say that I could disable all the bombs in Turtles without having any trouble. I don't know why everyone else always went on and on about it being such a hard thing to do.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's always confused me.
All right.
But, yeah,
When are you gonna finish Hollow Knight then?
I'm never gonna beat the Radiant.
Radiance.
You're a savant for that one aspect.
For that one thing, I found the one thing I
TMNT.
could do, and it was like, and it's over now. Nobody cares. That didn't get me this job, so no. This is super cool because I'm like, I think especially it sounds impossible because to us who get to use our hands, we're so used to that interface, and for somebody who doesn't get to use their hands, it's like this is what I adapted to do.
I saw a guy who was really big in the fighting game scene.
Oh yeah.
That played with his tongue,
Okay.
like on a regular controller, but not actually with his tongue. He like used his tongue to like hit with his lip,
Oh yeah. Push through it. Yeah.
and he would play like sort of face like lying down
Mm.
with the thing under him playing, and he was just kicking everybody's butt.
And you'd have to be able to do that and look up and also see the thing. Whoa. God.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, if obviously this is super cool that this guy's doing it. He streams and stuff. You should check him out. Handy Capable Sean. But I think the big takeaway from this is he's able to do this because he's using this custom controller, remapping the controls and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, the more accessibility, these kind of accessibility options to have in a game, there's this, I feel like there's been a bit of stuff about like you should make an easy mode on your game so that it's more accessible, and it's like that's a separate thing. Like making difficulty modes on your game can be really good and helpful for people and make your game more fun, but also having accessibility features like remapping your things, making colorblind modes, captions, all sorts of stuff like that.
I played Chicory, and if you look at the options in there, it's like it takes off screen shake. You can take off
Right.
flashing. There's like a color gradient you can change on the screen, so the monotone's not so hard on your eyes, if that's a thing. So like there's other ideas of what makes a thing accessible outside of just difficulty range.
Right, and it's like just because somebody isn't able to play Dark Souls because of their accessibility things doesn't mean they want an easier Dark Souls.
Yeah.
They want to be able to play, they want to have it might just that they need to have the sound different or whatever, and then they can play it just as anybody else would.
I mean, when you get into conversations about difficulty level, because they're kind of arbitrary when you're like, oh, normal, hard, easy, right? If somebody has to play a game on an easier mode, that doesn't mean the game's easy for them to play necessarily.
Right.
I play a lot of rhythm games, and sometimes being able to play a song on easy mode is still just as challenging for somebody else as playing normal or hard on a different thing, especially depending on what your timing reactions are like.
Or if you're in the situation like you were talking about where you had to have Ian translate what the button you had to push was.
Oh, for Cool Tune? Oh, yeah.
It's like that's gotta increase your reaction time a little bit.
Yeah. Look, I can't read the Japanese. The game's giving at me. It's harder to react faster when you don't know what button you're supposed to push.
And finally, I think this is the last story I marked anyway.
Okay.
There was an interesting article that there's been a little bit of dispute about how meaningful this is. But anyway, apparently there's been, we were talking about Ubisoft stuff earlier. There's been a bit of an exodus going on at Ubisoft in terms of a lot of their, for some of the, like if you look at some of their big games, like say Far Cry 6, 5 of the top 25 credited people in the game have left the company. 12 of the top 50 credited developers from Assassin's Creed Valhalla have left the company. Ubisoft says this is the normal ebb and flow of stuff.
Yeah.
But apparently people within the company have said that like they've noticed that either a combination of the actual... It's funny, there's like the weird combination of like one, the various hostile work environment things that they're dealing with. But then there's the more practical from the game designer's standpoint where they just like don't find the games they're making very interesting.
Yeah.
Because they're making all the the idea that their games are becoming so sort of formulaic with the sort of open world collectathon thing that they're not really some of the, especially the sort of higher up developers who are doing the kind of game design stuff are like,
this is the same thing I did twice before. Yeah, and you might be like, there's a point to be made here about salaries, and we'll get to that. But the attrition rate is the thing that I thought was interesting to point out, is that Ubisoft is claiming, and as far as the Game Informer sources are claiming, is that Ubisoft's attrition rate is high, but it's not higher than EA's. And it's not that much higher than like Riot or like any of the other big AAAs.
It's within standards as far as they're saying.
They're saying,
industry standards.
Yeah, and it's like, so we see that many people rolling over and leaving, and then you end up hiring new people to come in, and that's kind of how the whole thing goes. And so it's like, keep an eye. So to the audience here, it's like, keep an eye on that perspective, that it's like, yes, people are leaving, but you can't just be like, oh, there's people leaving and then there's new people coming in, and so we're seeing this kind of churn of 15% of our people are
your turnover rate.
Yeah, 15% of the jobs that we have are vacating and getting filled, because you're not like, oh, we're totally out of people, right? We're just, people are constantly leaving, so people are coming back in as well. But I mean, the reasons are the reason.
If I was a company that a bunch of people were like, oh, well, a lot of people seem to be leaving your company, and it seems like a lot. Yeah. I would be also saying things like, well, no, everything is perfectly fine, and we're dealing with it okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way this was. There's just one line that's kind of stuck in the middle of the story. One programmer told the publication they were able to get a job with triple the pay after leaving Ubisoft.
And there it is.
Ubisoft has recently given all its workers at its Canadian offices a pay raise, and those boosts have improved retention by 50%.
What does that actually mean?
How odd.
Yeah.
So it's like you give people more money, and you're actually like paying people.
Because that's the Canadian.
Yeah, Ubisoft Canadian, Montreal and Toronto, I think, both of those studios.
And yeah, Ubisoft is a couple of Canadian studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if
Vancouver too.
If other people in the same landscape of you as you are making more money doing the same kind of thing, then doing a pay raise might keep some of them, but money is not everything.
Yeah. And especially because even if you just look at the blinders on for just money, it's like they still couldn't satisfy half of the people who are leaving with money, because they're like, somebody said, I can go somewhere else. I can still get a video game job in the industry because it's Montreal. There's other studios there, and I can be making triple what I'm making right now. That's great, but you're right. It's not. It's not all about money.
But
widen the focus.
I looked at the source article, the Axios article, and there was a thing in there that also said there were other studios not located in Canada wondering when they would be getting their raises then.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, money has that kind of effect.
Mm-hmm. That's the CEO problem that all companies talk about, where it's kind of like, if we don't pay our CEO $50 million, someone's going to come along and say, oh, you only make $30 million? We'll pay you $50 million at our company. And then the CEO will be like, I love this company and I have a great time working here. What's that? See ya. Like, that's what happens.
And of course, there has been Ubisoft is there has been all this sort of talk about the union stuff and collective bargaining in all of these big companies. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that's an aspect of this as well.
Yeah. A lot of the reasons that got stated they were all very different, but there were a lot of them. There was the money thing was a big one. There was the idea of like the decisions that the higher ups are making. No, we've this last year and a half it's just kind of done it for me.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And
then there's
there is going to be a certain turnover rate you probably expect, but between the pandemic and even if it's only a couple more people than normal leaving, and they're lying about that, that's still a couple more people on that now you have to try to rearrange for those games to come out. Those games are going to likely get delayed.
Yeah.
We're likely going to be delayed regardless because of other reasons.
Yeah. And obviously, as far as we can tell, Ubisoft has done nothing to address the concerns around workplace harassment and the general corporate culture.
Pretty sure one of the lines in the source article stated that one of the people left or someone had left because management, when that stuff was brought on, just kept saying, let's just move forward.
Yeah.
Let's just get past this. Let's just not worry about that. Let's just sweep that under the rug and keep on going.
Don't think of the past.
That's the old Ubisoft.
Yeah, no, the new Ubisoft, which starts today.
Which starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get rid of all the people who don't want to work under that, if they all leave, and then new people come in, then yeah, I guess they are just looking forward, aren't they?
Yeah, and then when a bunch of people leave, it's like, well, Ubisoft is like the ship of Theseus. If it's rebuilding its people all the time, but it is constantly rebuilding the people.
We've definitely had studios like that, right? Where it's like nobody from the original who worked on whatever game way back in the day is actually around in the team that is still that name anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's a Ubisoft. I mean, fundamentally, as far as I know, like upper management, Yves Guillemot and all of those guys are still in charge at Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So it's not like a complete switch over or anything. But anyway.
I'm sorry. It looks like EA's attrition rate is 9%. Thor Sokar went to LinkedIn and had a look. That's where people are getting the attrition rates from. Is like it's essentially self-reporting because it's people who are like, I worked for this, and then now this is I work for somewhere else. So if they're doing that kind of deep dive just through LinkedIn, using that as the source, then it's like, okay, Ubisoft actually has one of the worst. They're at 12%, which is above Activision Blizzard King.
Comparatively to others.
And of course, just the pure number doesn't necessarily, reflect. There's, the who, where in the company those people are leaving from, and stuff is also important. But anyway, we shall see. We shall see. I have to say, as somebody who is a big fan of the Assassin's Creed games and stuff, I do have I do still have a bit of a soft spot for Ubisoft games and stuff.
Sure.
And it makes me very sad that, because up until relatively recently, they were kind of one of the good guys in the sense that they had, in the past, at least to outward appearances, been kind of supportive of various employee things, trying to avoid crunch and all that kind of stuff. They were actually pretty good on that, which I always quite liked. And they fought against being taken over by Tencent. I think there was like a hostile takeover that was trying to happen, and they
I'm
battled
not really
against
familiar with their history in that regard.
But it's tough. I mean, people are talking about same thing with like playing, Blizzard and stuff too. That you're obviously these are big corporations, so they don't care about it, whatever. But you do kind of get a bit of a like, this company has given me a lot of good times.
Yeah.
It makes me sad that apparently that's not something that they're
Providing for their own staff.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that was all of the news. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about? Other than...
I don't think we popped anything late into the checkpoint.
No, there wasn't really anything I noticed that was interesting in terms of news.
Yeah. Other than happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, set up your consoles. If you manage to get a new console for whoever your family members are, set them up the day before. Get your accounts set up. Do your updates, because every single one of them is gonna be slow.
Yeah.
So many updates.
Every year we go through this.
And
Maybe
now,
test those new games before your kids do. They're not gonna know.
play the game and get the high score
Yeah.
that they'll never be able to beat.
It's just me.
Do they still do score in video games?
Sometimes.
It depends on the game. I mean, a lot of retro stuff keeps coming
Oh,
back,
no.
so...
Log in and claim slot 1.
I'm just trying to do a really nice PSA here, and the two of you are like,
Yeah.
what's the shittiest thing I can do to a person?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, on Christmas, my dad or my parents gave my brother and I like Super Soaker. I guess
Christmas.
Yeah, it was not. This must have been for my birthday, which
Okay.
is in June.
Right. Makes a lot of
But
sense.
we got Super Soakers, and so we were like, yeah, we like went out to play, not knowing that my dad had bought himself one as well.
Did he buy a bigger one?
I think he bought it was just the
Okay.
same one.
Okay.
And so of course he came out and surprised. It was like,
Nice.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Coming up next is not Friday Night Paper Fight. No Friday Night Paper Fight tonight.
Yeah, so go rewatch an Ian and Cameron Christmas. Go rewatch the whole playlist. There's got to be like 5 in there. That'll keep you settled for the length of a Commander game.
Or you can watch the cool Tinker Tailor Solder Fry that came out that we did last night, where we put together a Game Boy Advance. Made it all fancy.
Yeah.
An upgraded one.
It's the best color, blue.
So it was a lot of fun to do that. It's if you can't get yourself an analog pocket, well, you probably can't get yourself a Game Boy Advance either, because they're about the same price.
You'll definitely not get anything in time for
Yeah,
Christmas.
but if you do have an old one sitting on your shelf, if you watch the stream, you might find it fun and interesting.
Especially if you're in a completely different part of the world, and so it's probably already Christmas.
It's 4 hours long. Oh my god. Anyway, go ahead.
You guys only took one break.
Yeah.
I'm
And then-
surprised.
But then tomorrow, Heather and Beej are going to be back to play Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land.
Mm-hmm.
Freshly picked.
Freshly picked. Sorry, I always forget that part.
Yeah.
And it is freshly picked. The game is still in cellophane.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We're gonna unlock that on
And see
stream.
if the game's actually.
We're gonna find out if
inside.
the game works and if it's in there.
Is freshly picked Tingle different than regular Tingle?
Well, regular Tingle is a 35-year-old man who believes that he is a fairy. So if he's freshly picked, maybe he's in his 20s.
Maybe he's younger this time.
Yeah.
Oh, this is back when this is young hot Tingle.
Yes.
Oh,
I've seen pictures
right.
of
There
him
are
hot
pictures of him thinking about how he. Yeah. Oh, that could be.
Ah,
I'm not sure if
back
that's
in
this
his
game or the other
back
game.
in his
'cause
modeling days.
If you're unaware of this game existing, there is another Tingle game.
I think that there's a
The
balloon
Tingleverse.
Fight. There's a balloon fight Tingle game actually.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is like a dating sim, but also an RPG. I'm not sure what it is, so we're gonna see.
Don't give me ideas of things
It's a
I want.
dating. It's a dating sim, but there is only one person to date, and it's Tingle.
Yeah,
Beach might do a voice.
I might
He might. I'm not going to make those promises
We'll
for him
see.
like everybody else I've seen do it.
have to get all of the Pepakoa in the moon base.
And then on Boxing Day, we have a special Boxing Day stream.
Yeah.
That's on Sunday. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be talking to, just doing some Q&A type stuff. We're going to be playing some Crokinole. We're going to be watching some highlights from the year.
The description promises s'mores.
Yeah.
There will be an attempt at s'mores.
Mm-hmm.
I want s'mores.
This
Yeah.
is gonna be thanks to Mail Time that we received a whole bunch of s'mores construction kit essentially, and we're gonna try to make use of them. So you haven't seen that Mail Time yet, and that's fine.
It might be a little bit.
Yeah, but this is what we're going to do with them.
They've
So
been rapid successioning opening boxes.
yeah,
So it should be I figure with the s'mores, like graham cracker, chocolate, and marshmallow, like you can't go that far wrong, right?
Well,
like even if you just put those three things together and don't even heat
it's
it up,
Hershey's
Exactly.
chocolate,
it's still tasty.
Yeah.
which,
Yeah, Hershey's chocolate is.
I mean, I'm sure we'll figure some way to mess it up.
but maybe it'll taste better if it's in conjunction with other things.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, it is Rhythm Cafe Melodies Escape. Oh, hey, James updated the image.
Oh,
so it
good,
actually
because I
has
was like,
a picture.
the image he used was real weird.
It was just the background, but not the actual thing. Anyway, Melody Escape, where so that's later on Sunday. Heather and Ian are going to be playing their own games for Rhythm
We're
Cafe,
gonna,
or their own songs.
our own music, and therefore there will be no VOD.
Yeah, so catch it while you can.
Yeah, definitely not on Twitch. I'll be just preemptively getting rid of that, and probably not on YouTube because for the last every time I've tried, it has not worked.
Just put it up on YouTube, but like silent, like take all the audio out.
Yeah.
I mean, that I could probably do. And put in your own music.
See if you can guess.
See if you can guess and make up our own stories. I do it all the time. Why not you two?
And then on Monday, we are back to Play It Forward. Kathleen is going to be continuing on with her Shin Megami Tensei. She was playing this morning. Followed by the Can't Draw Horses Club with Corey and friend.
No, there is no Can't Draw Horses Club that day.
Not Can't Draw Horses Club.
Because it's CTS.
There is a CTS. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're not doing Can't Draw Horses Club because we're doing the artist only, draw only CTS.
Yeah, we're doing a
Jackbox.
special Jackbox
With
CTS.
a bunch of people who've been on Can't Draw Horses Club.
Where we're going to be doing, we're going to try to do all the drawing games. Because often when we do Jackbox, it'll be kind of like 50-50. People will be like, oh, I just have my mouse and I can't draw.
Jackbox
Horses
Club.
Or Ian with his trackball being like, what am I doing? Help.
Yeah.
I've agreed to be on this one because I was like, oh yeah, I want to play all the drawing games. I don't think I'm gonna be good at any of them, but I'm super excited to watch.
I mean, the quality of the drawings is not really what's important for the drawing games.
I just wanna play all the drawing games. I think they're fun.
I like Jackbox.
Maybe I'll get really good at drawing real fast.
I like this being Jackbox Horses Club because it's hard to say, but also Can't Draw Jackbox. They both have the same, like they have matching vowel sounds.
And it also makes like no sense.
Yeah,
It's the Jackbox Horses Club. That describes exactly what we'll be doing. So, lots of cool stuff coming up. LoganRedRun.com/live has the full schedule, the link to the calendar and all that stuff. Obviously, things like as with CheckPoint next week. There might be a little bit of shuffling around or canceled streams and stuff as people are doing New Year's Eve type stuff. But rest assured, we will be continuing on doing stuff, and we'll hopefully be doing even more stuff in 2022. Now let's thank the people who subscribed during this stream, including that person, but also Jess K for 41 months.
And Kilrin Cray for 68 months.
Eternal Density for 52 months.
Garunkel for 25 months.
Oh yeah. Clench Eastwood for 80 months.
Commander Mad Mo has gifted 5 subs. Thank you very much.
Somebody gifted Molly a subscription. Thank you very
I'm
much.
guessing Molly's in the chat then.
Molly was.
Okay.
I don't know if they're there now.
I was kind of looking back and forth there. Lord Dodo is a brand new sub. Thank you for showing up. Always appreciate that.
Complexed One for 45 months.
Complexed one.
Yeah.
Complex F1. Complexidome.
Maybe,
Ask your doctor about Complexidome.
Yeah, there we go. I knew I'd seen bits show up during the show.
and 1,000 bits from all these awesome people, including Gap Filler sneaking in at the last moment there. People, I like that now, since we've started doing this, folks in the chat have started to figure out the timings for when they can snipe for the bits.
They can see their
It's
name
good.
pop
It's
up.
good.
Yeah.
The trick with the bit snipe, though, is if nobody's donated bits, the thank you thing doesn't come up at all, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You gotta really make
Yeah.
sure it's good.
Paul won't follow through on my suggestion of if we don't get any bits for a thing to just put thanks for nothing.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why.
I mean, thank you for 0 bits. It's a little passive aggressive, but it is really funny.
That did happen like once or twice.
It happened to me. It did.
Yeah.
That did happen once or twice before I put that check in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a wonderful, happy, and safe holiday in however way you celebrate that. And we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Make your list of 99 things.
Put me on it.
Put Beach on it.
And then check it twice.